I think, you know what we should do? We should take a couple minutes. We should take a little time and do the... We should take a little time and give some opening thoughts and feedback so far this season. Today is Thursday, so the season's been only out for 2 days. There's been a lot of talk around it, but I think I have a pretty good basis to stand on. As so far this season, I've played 102 ranked games. And that's before I've started playing today. I've played 102 ranked games. I'm 55 and 47. On the ELO system, I haven't even moved, which is wild. So the placements matter a lot. In our running theories, we kind of our placements by stacking, because we went like 7 and 3 or something like that. And those games we lost, we got penalized heavily for losing. And then early on, you know, me and Seago were playing and we were like streaking. We'd win 3, lose 3, win 3, lose 3. And those loss streaks hurt way more than the win streaks helped, which sucked. But just to give you a frame of reference, obviously all these can be subject to change over time. But I've played a lot of games in the last few days and I've tried a lot of stuff. So I think I just want to give initial thoughts and feedback, because there's a lot of good and a lot of bad. Let's start with the good. The rank system. They did a great job with the rank system. It's fun. It's giving us something to play. I can't show you right here. I'm sure, you know, someone probably has a clip somewhere of like after a win or loss. But I feel like I'm either moving up or moving down. At the moment though, I mean, like, I'm a little bit frustrated because like I'm winning way more games than I'm losing, but I'm not moving. But I'm sure there's reasons for that, because I'm also still playing with friends. If I was solo queue only, I would probably climb a little bit faster. But then again, it's the second day of the season. I don't care about trying to hit top. First off, top 500 doesn't come out for a week or two anyways. Champion's gonna be really, really hard to hit. So it's gonna be a marathon instead of a sprint. And that's okay. We're gonna take our time with it. I placed, I think, Masters 1, but like close to GM5. I have a pretty decent win rate this season. So I'm hoping to keep it moving. Last night, we actually got destroyed for a couple hours. Me, Craig, and CarQ, I think we lost like 8 straight or something like that. So that probably didn't help very much. But so far, the rank system's been really, really fun. The redesigns look pretty good on a lot of the icons. I think the Masters icon probably was the biggest loser. The only thing I'd be like a little bit nitpicky of on the rank system is I'm not really a huge fan on the way it displays your stuff in the career profile. They changed the way it looks. This is how it looks now. So like last season, it says top 55, top 160, you know, and this is how the GM ones look. This is how Masters look, because that's a couple seasons ago, DPS. And then season 1, that's how like Diamond looks, right? So I'm not a huge fan of the way that looks, but so far the rank system has probably been the best thing to shoot some life into playing the game more than anything, you know? And you can even tell up here, I have 1,200 competitive points already on this season, just from how many games I've played. So rank system is a massive winner for sure, and it's not even close. Another winner would definitely be the Junkertown changes. The Junkertown changes are very, very nice. Junkertown changes are really, really good. Junkertown feels nice. That's Hawk solo queued, and it took him 17 hours to get GM, so it's not about stacking. Considering Hawk and how good he is, that's insanely surprising. Okay, let's continue though. Other goods. The drops this season for Twitch streaming was really, really good. They're giving out a season 1 Cybermonk shop skin, so you actually get like a really nice reward just for like watching streams and stuff, which is 1, nice for streamers. 2, it's a good way to just get a nice skin for very, very low effort. That's really cool. Enjoying that. Faceit stuff looks pretty good, but that's like not really season 9. That's like just same time. And I will say that the health buffs, pretty much, not entirely, but mostly, are good. The health buffs overall, it slowed the time of kill down quite a bit, which means that you're not exploding as often. However, though, obviously there's some trade-offs. I'll get in that in a minute. The other good thing I do want to say is I actually kind of like the DPS passive. I haven't played any DPS at all. So this is from a tank POV. I think that it's good that DPS players have more impact, and are able to cut through just like someone sitting there and heal botting, which is nice because what I've noticed is very similar to what Aaron had said in that dev blog before the season launched, was that with these changes they had hoped that they wouldn't have to like nerf support abilities or cooldowns or anything like that, but because of the increased shots being hit and the increased damage pressure being applied, you'd have to Suzu more often, you'd have to lamp more often, right? And that's what I've seen more than anything, is those improvements. That's about where the good stops though. Let's cover the bad. Number one, where do I want to start actually? Where do I want to hit first? Because I have a few things I really need to hit. Let's talk about the one that's most obvious to people that are really like frustrated and getting mad about on the internet, and apparently crap cooked, and there's like some TikTok I have that has like 4 million views or some shit. Let's talk about the hitboxes, right? Let's talk about the hitboxes. The hitboxes is insane, right? Like, don't get me wrong, that being headshots is wild, right? And that's what people I think are freaking out about more than anything. However though, as we're 2 days in, I don't think the hitbox changes are that bad, other than a few cases, Widow being one of them. Widow in high level lobbies can just take over. Now granted, I think you could actually deal with it if there wasn't a compounding issue that went with it, which I'll cover in a minute. But so far, I don't think that the hitbox changes have ruined the game the way people say. I think that a lot of people say and feel like their skill isn't rewarded the same way anymore. And to that, I say I disagree. Because SK was talking to me yesterday and made a good point. And she said that on Lucio, your accuracy would always be pretty low. And that you would only have 30% accuracy if you were literally one of like the 3 horsemen of Lucio gods, right? You're talking like your pro players, you're like Fuddy Astros or your FD god, you know what I mean? Like people that just play Lucio all the time. Like that's what they do. And they're insanely good to a pro level. And then SK was saying that she's able to do it now. That just means that even the pro players are even going to hit even more shots, right? Which means that they're still going to be performing better than you are. It just kind of moved everybody up a little bit more, which isn't exactly that bad. Overwatch is a game with a lot of movement, and I had this thought recently on the SVB podcast, and I wondered why, you know, so many people still hate Overwatch to this day. Many good reasons. You ever thought about like your friends that played Overwatch in the past? Because I'm guessing if you play Overwatch, you're probably watching this, right? If you had friends that played Overwatch with you and then they just left, did they suck? Like, were they really f***ing bad? Like, and they were like, nah, that game's trash. Were they always the shit player of your group? Because unironically, Overwatch is an extremely difficult game. Extremely. It's why at the beginning of Overwatch 2, I always said to people, I didn't think there was going to be a GM Overwatch 2 player for a very long time. Very long time. Like someone who started in Overwatch 2 and never played Overwatch before. Started. Like it would take forever. Because of how much skill curve is in this game through learning. And you ever watch like pros of other games or really good streamers, like for example, like say like Shroud comes to play Overwatch. Shroud's not a GM player. You know what happens to Shroud? He gets like to Diamond and he hits every shot on Cassidy, but then some Winston enjoyer walks over, jumps on him and kills him. You know why? Because the Winston player knows how to jump on and how to engage and isolate him away from people. And it doesn't matter if you can sit there and hit headshots. The Winston player is killing you. He's popping bubble and he's going to walk over you. Because that's more game sense. It's more of how the game's played. It's more than just a raw FPS point and click game, right? So what these changes have kind of done is they've made the game a little bit more approachable in a lot of ways to players. And so yes, it's made shots easier to hit, but it's for everyone. So even pros are hitting more shots because pros are not bots. They're not AI. They miss. They're not aim bots. So even at the highest level, people hit more shots than they were hitting before. So basically the way you think about it is the whole curve of accuracy got bumped up a little bit, right? So what does this mean? I think there's certain heroes like Widow, where you literally get one shot if you peek her. Having the ability to hit easier shots is going to be really bad. But it would be, you could maybe deal with it if there weren't a few supports that could stop your ability to even try to deal with that in its tracks. Because what it's up to at that point is your DPS either need to go Tracer, Sombra, or Widow to counter in some sort of way. If they're not better, then it's up to the tank. If the tank tries to, they go what? Winston, Ball, Sigma. Well, guess what? You can't even kill them half the time right now because unfortunately, there's a big problem on the support end at the moment, and I'll get to it in a second, but it rhymes with Yata. That makes it so you really can't even do anything about it. So I think it's still early to write off that the hitbox changes are really bad. However, though, there's some major losers. There's some characters that just straight up got f***ed. Those characters that I would say are probably the most f***ed are Torb, because you can't really one-shot. You can't like the poke, if hitting like long range shots, it doesn't feel very good anymore. You have to be really, really close, and you almost have to play like shotgun Torb. So like, yeah, you have the turret and that's kind of nice, but the feeling, the good feeling of hitting long range projectile shots, not just spamming like a choke, is kind of gone. And that was a point Seagull made to me when because he was playing Torb, and I was like, you know what, honestly, I feel that. Junkrat's probably the biggest loser. Because Junkrat's whole style is to, you know, walk up and assassinate people by hitting them with a left click and then a mine. Can't do that anymore. So Junkrat's basically just sitting there and spamming chokes, which isn't as good because all the hit scan are way better because you're constantly applying the 20% debuff. So you're not hitting shots on Junkrat. Let's say you only hit 1 out of 5 mines spamming a choke. You're only applying the debuff once every 5 shots. Meanwhile, the Soldier, or Cass, or Ashe, or Sojourn is constantly reapplying it. So you're just not getting as much value. Mei is actually quite a bit of a loser as well because Mei's left click, her freeze, does the same amount of damage. With everyone having more health, the time to kill has gone way, way up. Also, icicles don't feel as impactful because of the extra health. You can't really roll people or one-tap them on Mei hitting good headshots. So Mei has been quite a bit of a loser as well. She probably will still have a place with like walling off a tank and going in, but yeah. Pharah is a winner and a loser because she got a rework. But however, though, with hit scans and bullets being so much bigger, it's much easier to hit Pharah now. And you can't do the old playstyle where you sit a mile away and just with a Mercy Pock and just keep spamming because the hit scan was too far out of range. It wasn't useful. So Pharah, I'm still not like totally sold on as a winner or loser at the moment, but so far, man. Doomfist is quite a bit of a loser so far. I've seen a few good Doomfists. But overall doesn't seem to be doing too hot. I haven't seen a literal single Maga, so I don't know if that's hitbox related. And Mercy is weird as well. Some people are saying Mercy's terrible. Some people are saying Mercy's still really good. I think it depends on what your team comp is, because Sojourn is still rolling. The hope was with this, or my hope with this patch was going to make it so that DPS could cut through pocket more, which does happen. However, though, Sojourn Mercy's still kind of running around the map. Kind of rolling things, so it's tough to say on that one. But I think we need to talk about the biggest problem, the elephant in the room, the giant, the crusher, the thing destroying all happiness in this existence, Zenyatta. Now I know, it's like, oh my god, you've always hated Zenyatta. Yeah, bitch, I've always been right. I'm sorry, dude. And now you have this problem where you put the Discord on them, and they're taking more damage. And then a DPS shoots them, and they get 20% less healing. The stacking of those debuffs is so oppressive that I didn't think it was possible, but this patch has somehow made it so that tank is a slightly more survivable in most circumstances. However, you have less impact than you've ever had before. I am winning against absolutely goated players and losing versus actual shit cans. Unless we have perfect synergy with a whole stack and we're running like the Ball comp, because Ball is really good if you have like really good synergy, I don't actually notice the 20% debuff. I'm glad you said that. I had a feeling somebody would say, I don't even notice it. It's not that bad. Well, have I got something for you? There you go. I found this on Twitter this morning as I woke up. Here is a Bastion shooting a Mei.
Yo.
And I don't think they get discorded. That's no Discord, by the way. That plus Discord orb is blowing everybody up. So this is what's actually become meta, at least what I've seen very early. What I've seen is people play Brig Zen, which was the Overwatch 1 comp. Yeah, it is with one person shooting it too, exactly. It's the Overwatch 1 Brig Zen comp. And the reason why Brig Zen was meta towards the end of Overwatch 1 was we had enough sustain with shields and with like Sigma and Hog with either self-heal or with Sigma's abilities that you would sit there and take as little damage as possible. And the whole idea behind sitting there and taking as little damage as possible is it allowed your supports to heal the 2 DPS instead, and then they could focus purely on doing damage and purely on making an impact instead of sitting there and healing. That is what is happening currently. It's like Ball, Tracer, Genji / Sombra, Brig Zen. And so your Brig just packs your DPS and your Tracer just stays orbed the entire time. And they just run in and kill things. Because if you play Ana, you play BAP. Kiri has a little bit more survivability, but Kiri also suffers a little bit. BAP is okay. Moira is really good. I'll do a tier list eventually. I'm going to give it probably a couple more days. But Moira is really good. Lucio is really good. But Moira Lucio can't really cut through it. Like Moira Lucio is more of like the rush version on a lot of maps. But basically you just sit there, you discord somebody, and then your whole team runs at them and they explode. And the ball just runs around the map trying not to die. That's literally the entire point of running the ball comp, is because you have the CC sustain and the ability to run. That is actually why you're playing more Ball than anything. Remember, Ball didn't really get any buffs. He just got more health, just like everybody else. He went from arguably the worst character in the tank role to arguably the best character in the tank role. How so? Survivability. Also is really good. It's like Orisa's really good. Ramattra's really good. D.Va's really good. All characters with really good survivability. If I had to go out on a limb and make a hot take, I'd say that the health buff was really good, but Tank didn't either A, Tank didn't get enough, or B, Tank doesn't have enough stopping power. Because the problem is now that Tank isn't as threatening as the DPS role. With DPS having the new passive, you can cut through healing. Tank cannot. So if a support is healing somebody and you're on them as Tank, you will not kill them. The only way you kill them is if your entire team focus fires them, which sometimes blows. But to go even further with that, you don't even get that far, because what happens is if you peek, you are dead. The second this happens to you, you are dead. And I know that there's some counterplay. Go behind a wall, wait a second. But sometimes in that second of peeking, like you're doing damage, you get Discord Orb and you go, okay, like you're shooting, you know, whatever, you get Discord Orb and go, oh shit. By the time you went from here to here, you're already less than half health. And so you're taking less healing while you're sitting here waiting the 2 seconds for the Discord Orb to come off and waiting for the healing to come in. And so by the time they actually round the corner on you, you're dead. So I don't know how it's possible, but I feel like they made Tank even less impactful than it was before. And you know what's funny? I was talking about how Reinfeld's really, really bad. And you know, I think nobody said Super's playing it. I don't think Super's stupid enough. But you know what? You know what's really funny? A lot of people were saying it was like, well, Flutz, Cloudy's been making it work. Because I thought maybe I'm just washed, dude. Maybe I just blow. I was like, nah, Reinfeld's pretty terrible. Chat was like, no, Cloudy's still playing him a ton. And then I opened Twitter and I see this sitting there. And I see playing Ryan this patch is like the extra hardcore nightmare difficulty. Zen just makes the game unbearable, and enemy tank can just go Orisa and be noob. Can't skill gap. GG. I'm gonna go even further with it. Is that somehow counter swapping is even worse than it was before. That's crazy, isn't it? That's crazy. I don't know, dude. There's a lot of good, though. There's a lot of good. There's a lot of bad. I will say, though, I do want to make a quick note. That even though Tank feels way less impactful than it ever has, I want you to take a second and take a breath before you start writing a comment that mocks me to town. Oh, Flash, I played a game where a tank was 64-0. Unfortunately, I've had the same thing where I have games where I'm almost getting literally nothing. Like I literally can't do anything. And then I play a game versus like actually like goated tank players, and I look like I'm like a prime starting Overwatch League player. And the reasons for that are multitude. There's a few of them. A lot of them are kind of DPS stiff. This season feels more DPS stiff than anything, if I'm completely honest. If you have an insane DPS player, they can kind of hard carry the whole lobby. That being said, though, there are definitely times where tank can feel oppressive on the receiving end if they're playing, say, Junker Queen comp and just running at you at Mach 10 and they're just running you over as a whole team and no fear, because that kind of stuff is going to be strong. But again, though, that's typically coming down to team comp and coordination of the other players in the lobby, not the tank player. Because the tank player can only tell people to do things. If the other people are not in voice, or they're not listening, or they don't know how to follow up or do anything at all, the tank player has way less impact than they used to. But if you have a team that's full coordinating on the opposite side and then your team's not coordinating, that is when you probably will feel like tank feels oppressive to you, and you might disagree with me. But I promise you that is not because of the tank being stronger or the tank not needing more help or changes being maybe needs to be made to Discord Orb, because I actually like the DPS passive. I think it's pretty good. I think Discord Orb, if we're going to stay in a 5v5 format, doesn't have a place. Or another thought, and this is not a hard thought, this is just something I had the other night when I was laying in bed, is maybe changing the tank passive to a resistance passive. Instead of 30% knockback, it's 30% resistance, so that would also still include boop, but then it would be a 30% resistance to thing like the DPS passive. It would be a 30% resistance to Discord Orb. It would be a 30% resistance to Sleep Dart, right? So that way Sleep Dart still affects you less, but like it creates some type of consistency with the character, right? That way you don't have to nerf it versus the other characters, right? So like, you know, Discord Orb versus, say, Bastion still would feel just as impactful as it currently does, but you wouldn't get the same value as just putting on the Discord Orb on the person who has no other choice but to stand in the choke, because that's how you play in tank. You're trying to hold space. So that way you keep the impact of the hero, of the ability, while also giving some kind of counter player something back, right? Because unfortunately, even though I think Zen's a fun character, he's really, really, like, enjoyable. Like, I don't think you should rework Zen. I just think Discord Orb in 5v5 doesn't make sense. So if you want to keep the DPS passive, if you want to keep 5v5 and you want to keep going down that road, I think Discord Orb is always going to rear its head and just going to be really scary. So that would be my suggestion. But yeah, so far, the judgment of 2 days, 3 days into the season, this is again subject to change. I'm having a good time. I'm having fun. Is there major problems that are starting to rear its head already? Yes. Are they fixable? Yes. Did they kind of cook with this patch? Yes. Did tank end up being the biggest loser and somehow is even worse than before? Yes. But that's okay. I have something to grind for. I'm having a good time.
They have fallen.
We'll just have to see how it goes.